Hello, and welcome to the Winners of Sheffield podcast. Coming up on this episode,
we'll be interviewing Anne Wilson MBE. Anne started working life in the Chief Cashier's office of a major hand tool manufacturer in Sheffield before moving to Midland Bank to work in the international division that also relocated to Sheffield. Following maternity leave, a number of short part-time contracts followed on the Yorkshire Electricity Board on the phones and Building Society customer counter service. An opportunity then arose for Anne to get into an office manager and bookkeeping role, and then entered the metal and manufacturing sector. From 1990 until 1999, Anne worked as company secretary and accounts office manager at Premier Welding Services. Anne became a certified accounting technician, and following a 12-month spell as a credit controller, Anne joined New Mill Engineering. Having initially joined as a bookkeeper, it wasn't long before Anne was general manager and eventually MD following an MBO in 2006. Anne was honoured in the late Queen's 2016 New Year's Honours List for services to engineering. Anne has been a freeman of the Company of Cutlers since 2012 and has recently been appointed chairperson of the Freeman's Committee. For the last 2 years, Anne has worked for Y Change, an independent training provider, as their head of business growth and leadership programmes.
So Anne Wilson MBE, thank you for joining us on what is our fourth episode of the Winners of Sheffield podcast. If we can just start by talking about your beginnings, your early life.
Early life. Right from the very beginning. I was brought up on a council estate by very, very hard-working parents that instilled that work ethic in me. Sort of from day one, they worked incredibly hard.
Where was that?
Manor Park.
Okay.
So Manor Park estate in Sheffield. So I was born and bred in Sheffield. I've travelled extensively, but I've never lived anywhere else. Mum and Dad couldn't afford for me to go to college when I left school, so I left school at 16. Went into a job working in accounts, etc. Got a job in now we'll call it Book and Hickman. It's a tooling group, so they do all the like Stanley tools and things like that. So they had a head office in Sheffield. Worked there in a cashier's office for a while. Then I went to what was Midland Bank. So this is sort of mid to late 70s. So I went to Midland Bank and helped Midland Bank, as it was then now HSBC, bring their international division up to Sheffield, which was a great experience. Got to live in London work in London for 6 months as a very young person at the time, and really enjoyed the process. Did a lot in international banking while the bank was here in Sheffield at the time, and only left when I was left on maternity leave. At that time it was full-time or no time in the bank, and there were no women managers in the bank, so there was no clear sort of seniority progression path at that time, which was difficult. So I left.
And that's something you were obviously aspiring to do at that point.
I would have been, but also just sort of life sometimes overtakes that, and at the time that I was considering whether to go back to work or not after maternity leave. My son was born in May, and my mum started to be ill in end of June, and by the time it got to September, it was obvious that she wasn't going to be around with us much longer. My mum would have been the carer, so I took the decision to sort of leave, take on everything that I needed to do with losing my mum as well. So quite hard in some ways, and then also looked after Dad for a good few years, made sure he was okay. He deteriorated into ill health as well, so we went through a real period of difficulty with looking after him. I went back to part-time jobs and did.
And you've got young children at the same time?
I got one son, so I became a 39-year-old orphan, with a 10-year-old son as well, and it just changed perspective on life. And it was difficult, but whilst Dad was ill, I did switch jobs. I think the catalyst of something serious happening, and I did switch jobs because I thought, there's got to be more to life than this. So I went back to college, walked back into college to do an accountancy qualification, and then sort of after Dad had gone, thinking, because I need to do something with this time that I gave to him that's going to be really beneficial, and that's what I did. So I went and did the accounting qualification over 3 years at night school, whilst being a mum, working full time, and sort of went on from there. Followed that up with a degree in leadership and then a postgrad in strategic leadership as well. So all studying part-time whilst working full-time with a child.
Was you based at Griffin House when you came to Midland Bank?
No, we were at Deacon.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, we were at Deacon House down Air Street.
Because I know my dad started off at Griffin House. He ran telecoms for ages at Griffin House. It was like a pillar of Sheffield when we first came to Sheffield. So I remember it. Did you have any growing up during your time then? Did you have any mentors or people that inspired you to go and do what you wanted, to help you on that path?
I think the parents, whether they were here or whether they weren't, were always that inspiration. So Mum and Dad were very, very hard working, and that was instilled in me from sort of very, very young age.
You mentioned they were hard working. What were their professions?
Mum was background was pork butcher and caterer. So she worked when companies used to have their own catering and they'd have the canteen, and Mum was cooking. She was the cook and she did all homemade food for the employees, etc. Her last role was at Henry Boot up at Banner Cross at their head office, and she used to run their employee canteen up there with Mr. Hamer Boot, who nicknamed her Cookie. But she'd always been in catering, either mass catering. She worked for big companies, running the kitchens, etc. And Dad, up to maybe about 11, was long distance lorry driving. So he used to be missing most of the week, depending where he was. And then, it must have been about 11, and he switched to be a bus driver. So he was a bus driver in Sheffield, on Sheffield Transport as well. So so he'd always, always worked hard. So
When you said you went down to London, did you go down to London on your own?
No, when the bank did the recruitment campaign for the international division, as they must have done for Griffin and the other departments, they actually recruited en masse. So they recruited, I can't remember how many of us there were, but sort of from 17 to whatever year olds, most of us were sort of 17 to 19. They recruited a whole cohort of young people, and we used to go down to the equivalent department in London on a Monday morning and come back on a Friday afternoon. So it used to be the Master Cutler train down on Monday morning, and then so a train back on Friday afternoon, and they put us up in hotels.
Where in London were you staying?
Most of Kensington, in and around Kensington, and for us as youngsters at that time, how vibrant London was quite a revelation when you thought you could actually walk out onto a street at 10 o'clock at night and it'd be lit up, you could go to a shop and buy a magazine if you but we made.
Did you meet any celebs at that time?
No, we did go to Annabelle's and Stringfellows, and we went to, there were a couple of sort of areas that we went to look at. We went to I can't remember the name of the club down in Wardour Street, you know, sort of, yeah, so we did have a good time. Yeah, but you know, it was a great experience. But I think the thing that probably just strikes me now about that is we were down there being trained by bank staff, knowing that we were taking their jobs. Their department was closing, and we didn't think about it at the time.
Did that come across from them?
No, not at all.
No.
Were they aware at that time?
They must have been, because obviously, you know, you bring in hordes of people from Sheffield, and they would have been aware of the, you know, the whole shift. Was trying to decentralise. But you know, the majority of it's gone back now anyway, in different forms.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you think them early life experiences influenced the person you are today?
I think it absolutely has to. I say, Mum was a very, very strong person, but she was also a very family-oriented person as well. And yeah, I think I'm, you know, very much the same. My family is you know, so precious to me. There's very, you know, whilst there are few of us, you know, because I've, you know, not got a big family anyway. You know, with the grandchildren, etc. Now it's yeah, it's lovely.
What school did he go to then?
What school did I go to?
Yeah.
Manor Lane, junior and infants, and then Norfolk secondary school, as it was. So that was up City Road.
What is it now?
I don't know whether they've still got a nursery on site, but I think is it more or less houses? I can't remember.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's that house.
Don't pass very often, but pass every so often. I think. But then when I go with some of the other stuff that I do, I went up to what was Hillfield School, which, you know, so that's still a school, but that's Myrtle Springs now.
What challenges do you think you faced from your younger life? Well, did you have any major challenges growing up?
I never particularly felt any, or that I can reflect on being, you know, serious at the time. I think at the time we were less conscious of the lack of money that Mum and Dad got.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and they'd only got so much money. But you know, when you think back now, as you know, as an adult, you think, oh yeah, that's why Dad had sardines on toast on a Friday, because that was all that was left.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when we went to the holiday caravan in Ingermells for the summer, he was actually ringing up. I had to go to a phone box to ring up to see if he could get a caravan when he found out what his bonus was, to whether we could actually have a holiday. And then on the way in, you're buying a £56 bag of potatoes and 2 dozen eggs, because the staple diet to get you through the holiday and the eat the money out was chips and egg. So they're not challenges that I would have ever recognised at the time, but as an adult, when you think about it, well, they work blooming hard to protect us from it as well.
And I think it's, you talked about it earlier, family is important to you, and for me, I'm very much the same. We didn't have a lot of Christmas, and now when my girls are asking, my daughters are asking what we're getting for Christmas, I'm very keen to sort of say it's more than just giving and receiving. It's more about spending time with family and really appreciating. And I'm assuming that was instilled in you from.
It was, and we always went to relatives at Christmas. You know, when we had the elderly relatives, and if it was Christmas Eve, it was this relative. If it was Christmas Day night, it was this auntie. Boxing Day was always at our house. It was always like, you know, open house, and you know, Mum used to do all the baking for everybody, sort of in the family. We used to have these mass baking days, like sort of on the run up to Christmas, where we were doing 4 dozen mince pies and, you know, fruit cakes and things. So, you know, brought up very much in that. Well, with what we've got, we'll share, and you know, we'll do right by the older relatives, etc. So, yeah, and then you know, in my sort of adult life, it was always, Mum was so very much family oriented that she always wanted the house full of, you know, family and people, etc. And it's it was lovely.
So you mentioned about you retrained, you went to college, then did a degree. Is that what brought you to starting at Premier Welding, or was that down the line still?
No, it was after Premier Welding, and it was Premier Welding. It was when I left them, so that was where sort of the catalyst was really when I lost my dad.
Right.
And that was sort of, I was 39-ish, something like that. I thought, I don't know what I want, and that business was changing as well because their directors were retiring, and I think it just put that catalyst in there. So I went and did a couple of jobs. I thought I'll go to a large company, so I went to LUK. I thought I'll start.
Is that what is now Schaeffler, LUK?
And not that LUK. No, it was the LUK that did the motor parts, but they were down on I was trying to think, near the Wicker. So they had a head office there where they chased all, did all the payments and the admin and everything. But it's probably the same group.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I've got a job there. I thought I'll start at the bottom. I'll wait, using the qualification. I'll work my way up in that sort of business. That to be a good starting point. So I left a business that I've been happy at for probably 10, 12 years in a steady job. Husband thought I was crackers. And it sort of transpired that I think I've been there about 5 weeks when they went into administration. I said, nothing to do with me, by the way, but so I went in to work on credit control and to sort of start building that financial career. And I was sat facing down the office on that morning, and I just went, oh dear. And everybody went, what's the matter? What's with the visitors? I said, no. What do you mean? I said, well, I don't think we made it. Because all the week they've been pushing us, we've got to get something like 1.75 million in the bank by 12 o'clock on Friday. That, with a financial background, that okay, there's something amiss, and BNP pulled the plug. Bank National de Paris pulled the plug on us on that day. So I was on the lookout for something else, and then found sort of, as it used to be, bookkeeper required, apply, box such the star.
And what was that for?
Newmill.
Newmill.
Yeah. And so I was like that whether to apply for it or not, because when it came through and I knew the name, the director or the owner of Newmill was very, very good friends with the people that I just left at Premier Welding, which was, I think, do I apply for this job? I thought, well, I haven't actually done anything wrong, but that thought process, that, what they're going to say, are they going to say I've left them in the lurch? So, but I did, obviously I did go, and it was it's a good
In
move.
previous episodes, we've touched briefly upon how different aspects of mental health have affected people. Obviously, it's a big scope nowadays. When you were getting made redundant in positions and things like that, how did that affect you? Did it affect you within yourself? Because you don't really realise it at the time, do you? But it can affect you and have a knock-on effect, can't it, when you keep getting told that you're not doing your job no more?
But I am a very positive person anyway.
Okay.
It's always glass half full, always. And even to the point where if someone says, all right, we've got a problem, I will still say, no, we've got an opportunity. Because whatever has happened, we might not be able to change, but we've got an opportunity to do something different, something better, and to learn from. And that I did that quite a lot within Newmill with my production manager. His favourite phrase was, "Houston, we've got a problem," and I used to irritate him to death because I would say, "No, we've not. We've got an opportunity. No, we've not got a problem. So it needs to go on like that and say,
Yeah.
no, whatever has happened, we've got an opportunity to do something better. We find the root cause
Definitely.
and we do something different. Yeah. Whether it's people, resources, time, it always comes down to the same things. It's resources, money, time, people, etc.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, we just need to learn from it and sort of grow with it. And so Newell was great, and so I went in as bookkeeper, looked after the business, became sort of general manager, looked after the director. I took on all the day-to-day running.
I mean, that you say that like it's an easy progression, but how do you go from being bookkeeper to sort of general manager, and in what time frame was that?
Fairly quickly, because the lady that retired, whose job I took, was quite, shall I say, one-dimensional.
You were probably overqualified as going in as a bookkeeper, I expect.
Yeah, but I wanted to, I wasn't happy where I was. I needed to do something else and sort of, I'll go back to a small company. You seem to get treated better in a small company, etc. And it was engineering, it was manufacturing, and it was an industry that I knew. But yeah, so I sort of picked up from the accounts and said, right, well, actually we could do this better, or we're doing that. Picked up the policies and the procedures and things that weren't in place or weren't as good as they should have been. So generally, sort of and gradually, over a few months, sort of took a lot of pain away from the director. Things that he was an engineer. He was out and out an engineer, a fabulous engineer. But he couldn't do all the people stuff as well as that and everything that needed doing. So, with the quality systems and the HR, accounts, sales order processing, purchase order processing. So we just really put some processes in place that made it a lot easier, and then sort of just took on the day-to-day running for him. Until I went, he'd not actually had a holiday, I think, for about 8 years, because he couldn't leave. Couldn't leave it. And the first time that he went on holiday and he came back and said, right, what have I got to sort out? Well, what do you mean? Well, what's gone wrong? Nothing. Well, there must be something that I need to sort out. No, it's fine. Oh, yeah. So, so it took his pain away. I mean, don't get me wrong, we did have some issues like most small companies, and you could say in a lot of small companies you have more than most because everything's concentrated.
Yeah.
If you've only got 20 staff, if there's an issue, it's quite
Everybody's affected.
Yeah, absolutely. So but yeah, it was.
And how big was Newell?
I say around about 24 staff when I first started.
Very lean organisation.
And it was a very specialist organisation as well. It was a really high intensity but manual precision engineering company. So we repaired and manufactured cutting tools for industry, but we were in all the big industries like aerospace, automotive, oil and gas, and rail, and it was a really, really good place to have a really good understanding of engineering and manufacturing.
So you obviously won the, let's say, trust of the then director quite quickly. Did you have any people, as a woman at that time, did you have any people within the business that particularly didn't trust or pushed back or sort of...
I think communication's key. In my role now, I teach leadership and we talk about it all the time. Communication is key. And whilst I was accepted and given the leeway to do what needed to be done for the benefit of the company, you could say that wasn't communicated well at the time. So the workforce, a lot of them have been with the previous director since he started the company. So many years, and they were all engineers. And there was one incident over smoking. So one of the guys had complained about smoking in the factory before it became a thing.
Pre-smoking.
Yeah. So well, you know, when you looked at the regs, actually, our duty was to protect that person anyway from whatever it was, hazard. So we, even before it was a thing, we actually implemented a smoking ban.
Right, okay.
And a couple of comments came back of, so I went out on the shop floor, I explained why, what for, etc. with the director at the side of me, and I said, right, you know, everybody okay with that? And one of the guys just came back and went, ecstatic. I'll take that, you know. And there was another incident where I was telling him how something was going to change or something was going to be, and the comment came back as well, we don't know who's running this company anymore. But that wasn't, you know, sort of necessarily my fault. It had not been communicated properly that, you know, this was my role, this is what I was doing, etc. So, and then they
Did
did
that persist
decide.
for long, or did you got over that quite quickly?
Yeah, quite quickly, because, you know, I was in touch with them every single day. I did the pay, I looked after the orders. If they needed anything, I was the one that was there anyway. And, you know, they realised then that, oh, actually, you know, if you want anything doing or you need to do anything, I was, you know, very empathetic with them as well, which they weren't used to.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they were used to a table thumping spider, if you want to take the, you know, sort of some of the leadership analogies in there, and, you know, bang fists and shout loudest, and well, no, it doesn't actually work like that.
You're doing a lot of jobs there, Anne. You're taking a lot. How did you balance it between work and home life balance? Because you know you had a young son, so how did you manage to balance
I had a
that?
good schedule.
Yeah,
So when I was studying as well, and at the same time I was picking up treasure for a local social club, and so, you know, the times I was doing my dissertation, certainly for my strategic leadership, my level 7, it was like, right, well, if it's Monday, Tuesday, it's this. If it's Wednesday, Thursday, it's that. If it's Saturday afternoon, it's this. If it's, you know,
Non-stop.
yeah, and it was. But if you want to do something, then you'll find the time. Yeah, I'm just going to find the time, and, you know, sort of make sure that everybody else is all right as well. I mean, you know, fortunately, my husband was at home to help look after you know, son as well, and it just worked.
Nothing got on top of you then? Never got on top of you at all?
Very rarely, no. So I'm a very positive person, so, you know, any wobbles, you might say, maybe momentary, you know, through that. You know, obviously did have the difficult period when I had to make the decision to put Newell into liquidation.
All right.
That was, you know, a result of the automotive crash and, you know, the credit crunch.
Yeah.
We were just getting through that, and then we got hit by the oil crisis, and they shut the Aberdeen oil field down.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we'd lost the custom, there was just no custom there. So that was incredibly tough, and tough on me and on the family.
What were the challenges with that then? Because obviously you're telling a lot of people they're out of work, so did that have...
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, because the rescue package that, you know, we'd got, and I'd prepared, obviously talked to the right advisors, etc. And unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Right.
But that's so that was incredibly tough.
Yeah.
And at that point, thinking, right, you know, not only for them, but the company was potentially going to be my future, my pension.
Yeah.
You know, what was going to happen, but yeah, it's that's life. You move on. 2016 New Year's honours. So yeah, it was very surreal. It's still very surreal. You know, 8 years in, for services to engineering.
Right.
So which was great, and, you know, my engineering background is really important to me anyway. And, you know, so when I was in Newmill, I became Freeman, the company of couplers, that also gave me the opportunity to network and talk to people, other business leaders in the country, and in the region, in the country, etc. But I made a conscious decision to go out and find people in my industry, not just clients, but get involved in things that I would go out networking. And as you say, as a female in engineering, it can be quite difficult. But I do remember going to, I needed 5 new machines, and I went down to an exhibition in Manchester. So I went down to buy these 5 new milling machines, or talk to somebody about buying 5 new milling machines. And I walked onto the stand, and the guy on the stand looked up from his paper, gave me a cursory glance, and then looked back down. So I wandered round and round, picked up leaflets and wandered round and round. It gave me another cursory glance occasionally, and then a guy walked onto the stand from the right hand side, and he immediately jumped up, shook his hand and said, "Hello, how can I help you?" So consequently I did not buy my 5 machines from them. But that was, but it does work in a positive way as well. So I went down to a rail event at University of Warwick, somewhere down there, it might have been the MTC, somewhere down that way, and was forever remembered as the lady in the red dress, because I was the only one in the room that wasn't in a dark suit, etc. So it does have its advantages.
Nice way to be remembered.
Yeah. And the travel, we were in the international business, so when I started working for Newman, I think we were 18% export. When I bought it, we were 24%, and we got that to 56% export. So that gave me a lot more outlet to go and talk to other people. So we were in probably 20 different countries and looking at different opportunities. And I got involved in things like the rail sector deal with Chris Grayling, as was. So I was an active member of the SME advisory board to rail, and a few other things. So I was, sort of made sure that I was sort of in and around those groups. And even now, I still have a seat on the SME advisory board to the Cabinet Office. We've not had any meetings since, obviously. There's been obviously a few things happening, but since the general election, but I still have a seat on the SME advisory board to the Cabinet Office.
So you mentioned there the cutlers. How long have you been involved in the cutlers?
I became a freeman in Pam's year, so Pam was the first female master cutler. Obviously Julie Kenny was the second. So I became a freeman in Pam's year, which was 2011-2012. So I've been a freeman now for 12 years. I've just taken up the chair of the Freeman's Committee, which is an honour.
I noticed that.
A privilege, really an honour, a privilege to try and help others and sort of help coordinate and be the voice of the freeman to and from the company of members and the master cutler, which is great. It's a fabulous platform for anybody that's involved in engineering manufacturing. So
yeah, we spoke to Dame Julie about it, and what I found really good about that master cutler side was what I asked her about. Are you hoping more females will get that role? And she said there's a process where there's 3 or 4 already lined up, which is kind of fantastic.
It is, and it's but we're sort of being sort of chair of the Freeman's Committee now, and I sort of sit on the sub-recruitment committee, and education skills. So trying to get involved and trying to tell other people how it is, especially females, and that's part of the recruitment strategy. But the whole equity and diversity thing is important to us, because we've got to be representative of, not just females, but of other ethnicities, etc. And what we're trying to find out is why are we maybe not attractive to them? How can we change that? What do we need? What do we need to do? It's absolutely fantastic. It's steeped in this 400-year history, and every time I walk into the hall, it's always a wow moment. Yeah. But we've got to make sure that we're going to be able to carry that on for the younger people that are involved in manufacturing and going to be involved in sort of engineering and manufacturing from this fabulous
Is there
place
any
that we've
young
got.
people coming through with the fruit mate like me at all or not? Or
There are, but that's because to be a freeman you have to be either MD, owner, etc. or
Right,
director or senior leadership in
Yeah.
a relevant organisation. What we are looking at now is trying to encourage younger people that are aspiring, so that are not yet ready to be freemen because they've not got the experience, the position, etc. So we're looking at what we're discussing now, an associate model role where young aspiring leaders that are going to be future leaders in their own companies or in other manufacturing engineering companies in the future, that they can actually join in some way so that we can introduce them to the platform and how it operates and what it means and the 400 years history. So as well as we want a modern approach to it, but you've got to embrace it, you've really got to understand that history and what it actually means in the region, absolutely. Once you are in the company of cutlers, etc., then you know how much support, you've got. I mean, I would need 2 hands or possibly more than the fingers on 2 hands to count the number of people that I know I could ring up if I had a problem and they would give me advice, because that's how they are. And there's some very prominent people that I would count on those fingers that I know I could ring up. And if we can get that message across, and that's the important message, that if you are involved in engineering and manufacturing, then this is an absolute brilliant platform for you to be part of, because from that, when you look at the capability we've got in this region, and if we understand the capabilities that we've got in this region, then there's a lot more business that we can transact between ourselves in this region that is beneficial for our economy, beneficial for our businesses and our people.
So we mentioned earlier, you've just had 2-year anniversary at Y Change. For people who don't know about Y Change, what exactly do you do here?
Okay. Before I go on to Y Change, just sort of do the interim bit. So when before I came to Y Change, I was actually working for Simca. So I was an independent skills advisor for the Mayoral Combined Authority. So I worked with them for nearly 5 years. And during that time, I also worked at Sheffield University. So as a business relationship manager, working on the RISE programme, which helped SME businesses recruit and retain graduates. So those 2 roles about building businesses and about building skills sang very much to what I'd always done, because I'd always had a passion about skills and industry and the way academia and industry need to interact and to support each other, and sometimes it gets lost in translation between the educational policies, etc. But that was sort of my thing all the way through manufacturing and engineering, is how can I get these people sort of talking together and how can we improve skills for the future. And both roles were absolutely brilliant. I loved them both. So I got out there to meet businesses and find out what their pain points were and how we could get the solutions to them of what would make their business better, and therefore the region, and therefore we employ more people, we're more economically sustainable in this region. We don't have to go too far outside. So that was sort of always big drivers for me. But the big driver has always been skills, always. Education, lifelong learning, and it was so the role or similar role that I have, or very similar, came up a few years ago. I was working at Simca, and I know Ray helped, sort of Ray with some advice, etc. when I was at Syndicate, and I saw this role, a role advertised, and I thought, well, I rang him, said, right, what are you looking for? It's and he wanted, there's certain things he wanted. He wanted, the vision for his company at the time. And so
Sorry, Ray's
our CEO, yes, yeah, Ray Byrne is our CEO. So I rang, we had a couple of conversations, and said, right, I'll have a think who's in my network that might be able to do that job. Never, it's nothing really, nothing came of it. I got one person in mind, but they weren't in the right time frame to move, etc. And so, so everything went on. I carried on doing what I was doing, and then I saw the role advertised again. It was sort of similar words, and I thought, what's Ray up to now? So I rang him and said, right, okay, what happened since we last spoke? He said, I never found the person. I couldn't find who I was looking for. Okay, right, well, what are you looking for? And he said, right, broadly, this, okay. And I thought to myself, well, I'm thinking about it for somebody else. Why not me? Why can't I go and do that role? And we had a chat, a very, very long chat. I came for interview when we were up in Chapeltown, when we weren't here at these premises. I didn't get the job. No, didn't get the job.
And it was a tangible reason at that point why?
Yeah, there was just someone else that they thought had got more experience in certain areas at that time.
How did you feel at that point? Was that because you won't have had rejection much?
No, but again, slightly deflated, but thought, okay, so it was okay, that's fine. He was, sort of like, no, it's not. It's not fine. But it's I still want you in the company, in some role or another. It's okay. So I'm not sure how that was going to play out, but the conversation continued that I was going to work part-time on some project stuff for them to help just with things that they needed doing. A particular project, it would have been a 1 day a week thing for a time, and I went away on holiday, came back, went into the first meeting to discuss what this project was going to look like, and sat down and said, right, there's a full-time job for you. If you want it, it's yours. And the other guy hadn't. The guy hadn't worked out as they'd expected. So that's how I ended up being here. So 2 years ago, I had to give a couple of months' notice to the university, so it's probably 2 years ago in September, and I joined 2 years ago on November 22nd. And sort of very sort of dynamic company, quite exciting. You could feel the energy, all the time. The team actually, sort of almost second interviewed me and said, because it's all built on behaviours about having the right people in the right places, doing the right thing with the right thought process. Our guiding principles are everything that matter to us. And the team had to say yay or nay to whether I joined or not. And sort of, you could say the rest is history. But I still believe in what the company does, even more so now. And so obviously, we're predominantly training providers. So we provide a range of training, but it's more about the transformation of businesses by transforming people. So if you transform your people, then your business, you can have business transformation. If you expect your business to transform without transforming your people, you're not going to get anywhere. And in difficult times, the two budgets that usually get cut first are the marketing budget and the training budget. And they're the worst two budgets potentially that you can cut, because your marketing, you need to keep your pipeline going, and your training, you need to make sure that the people that you've got are the best that they can possibly be, with a multitude of tasks and training and development, so that they're more efficient in productivity, you get more efficiency, productivity, etc. So you get the right mix of people with the right skills, and that's what we do. It's not transactional. We don't put bums on seats. It's not right for the learner. It's not right for their business, and it's not right for our business. We won't do it. Yeah. We deliver commercial training as well as apprenticeships, and our apprenticeships are really important to us. They're the core of what we do, and we deliver those apprenticeships across leadership, HR, marketing, Lean Six Sigma, quality, safety, health and environment. So we've got quite a raft of support subjects that support organisations with their people. We deliver from team leader level 3 to senior leader level 7. I personally deliver training for ops managers at level 5. So I have two groups of apprentices that are working with us, and they're working towards their apprenticeship. They're also working towards their CMI diploma in leadership and management. But the whole company is built on the guiding principles that are so important to us. And Ray say behaviours matter, and they do. It's a small team. If we don't have the right behaviours and the people don't fit, then it doesn't work. But it's a fantastic place to be, and anything I can do to help and continue to help the development of this business and raise the reputation and raise the awareness of the brand, etc. and what we do, then I'll continue to do it. But what we expect from our learners is that they bring their whole self here, and we always tell them that this is our place is their place. They are welcome here anytime, even if they're not training with us, that to think of it as a safe space for them, as well as a space where they come to do the training. And we have various sort of words. Some say they're going to school, they're going to college. Some will say they're going to Y. We did a survey not so long ago, and it's I'm going to school. It's my school day. It's my college day. But for us, it's as long as they're here, as long as they're safe, as long as they get what they need from us, we'll support them from the beginning to the end. It's
obviously something you're very passionate about. Do you see this as you giving back to a certain extent?
Yeah, I think I do, and I think the people as well. I have huge amounts of respect for Ray and what he started. When he started, it was one man, one laptop, one learner, and to go from that to what we have built now is incredible. So in the time I've been here, we've doubled turnover and we've doubled the full-time staff. It's not about a qualification, it's about you getting the knowledge, skills and behaviours, and you are taking them back into your workplace, and you are embedding them for the benefit of yourself and for your workplace. That's the whole thing about the apprenticeship, is it makes better people for better working organisations, and just the improvement that we see and the changes that we see in people when they walk through the door the first time, and then as they grow, it's just incredible.
If I'm on the outside then, and I'm looking to start one of these programmes, why should I go through Y? Why should I choose Y? Why should I go through your place compared to others?
I think because we don't offer it as a transaction.
Okay.
It really is about the transformation of the person.
Yeah.
And we are very well known for saying no.
Right.
Because we won't just put bums on seats. It's got to be the right person at the right time for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we won't do it. And we show that in the way we support our people, that, you know, it's, yes, you know, we all need money, we all need to eat, etc. Put food on the table, but it's got to be for the right reasons. And you know, if it's not right for someone now, we'll say right. We'll say right. Don't rush it.
Okay.
Don't rush it wrong.
Yeah.
Because it'll be better for you to wait 6 months and then make sure you've got the capacity and the brain space to do it, etc. Because, you know, and if people try and force people onto things that they don't want to do, the outcome's not going to be a good outcome. And we do a very robust sort of business relationship, you know, information, advice and guidance, as I said, try and find out holistically what the company's going through. Where are the pain points? What are they going to be looking at in the next 3 to 5 years? What does a succession plan look like? You know, if you're of a certain age and you're heading up a company, what's your succession plan? What's going to happen if you want to retire? You know, have you got the people in the business that can come through? Are they the ones that you want to do that leadership, or do you need something else? I think, you know, we do try do things, you know, very much to make sure that it's the right thing for the right person at the right time. Emma's got a favourite phrase, and it's you know, we will not rush it wrong.
Good one as well.
And that is, you know, part of our guiding principles, that you know, systems matter, processes matter, and we do right by everyone.
Now that you know all about the podcast and what it stands for, obviously celebrating local people and maybe unsung heroes, who do you think, Anne, that we should be going and having a conversation with and hearing their story?
I can think of quite a lot of people that I know that probably don't, you know, put their head above the parapet. Very humble people. I probably wouldn't like to name them now without having that conversation, but could certainly, you know, sort of highlight and flag a few people to
Flag them our way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what legacy do you want to leave behind, and is that part of the reason why you're here at Why Change?
Yeah, it is. It's I want to see Why Change, you know, really fly, because I know the integrity of and the determination of the people here, and it's an absolute pleasure, honour, privilege to be here with them. So yeah, I mean, we did have a board meeting last week, an ops board meeting, where we were asked, you know, sort of where we thought the company would be in 2030, and that is just, it was just an incredible question, because that is going to be you know, more of the high trajectory that we're looking for, about putting, you know, more back into the region, transforming more people, and you know, but I did think, well, you know, yes, 2030, that's a few years off, and it, in my cheeky head think I'll be 105 by then. But you know, so I have no plans at the moment to retire from here. Ray knows that, and he knows that, you know, obviously we'll give him fair warning when that comes.
So you've got a very impressive CV. You've no plans to retire. Is there anything that's on a bucket list that you haven't sort of yet done that you're forward thinking you'll do down the line?
No, more of the same. I think, I mean, I've probably ticked quite a few of the boxes coming here, because when I left school, I mentioned earlier that Mum and Dad couldn't afford me to go to college, but I wanted to be a teacher. At the time, I would have, you know, wanted to be a teacher in needlework and domestic science, as it was at that time. Mum was a cook, and I love sewing. You know, those job roles, in effect, don't exist anymore. It's a teacher DT or something like that. But having gone through and still believe in lifelong learning, I learn stuff every day, and being here gives me the opportunity to do that, as well as instill that into others, that you don't stop learning when you leave school.
No.
You don't stop learning when you get into a particular job. You just carry on learning. But if you're learning here, I think is potentially a completely different experience in learning in other places, shall we say.
Good stuff. Well, Anne, thank you very much for
Thank you.
your time today. You've been a great guest. What we've sort of said to a couple of others is we'd probably like to come back and revisit you again, if that's all right, down the
Yeah,
line.
absolutely. I'd say this place is going from strength to strength. When you come back, who knows, we may well have moved.
You might have outgrown the place, by the
Yeah,
sounds of it.
who knows? But yeah, the most important thing to us is how our learners feel when they come to us, so, and that'll never change.
We're here at Rotherham, man, just a quick one. Are you a Rotherham fan, Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday? Or not all?
Neither, any other, no.
That's fair.
So, being my son bleeds in blue and white,
Good stuff.
my granddaughter's mum bleeds in red and white.
Always the case.
There's something a little bit there about that relationship was never. But no, I don't have a particular allegiance.
That's right.
Anything that's good for the region, I think is. I'm more a theatre person. Musical theatre for me.
Top stuff.
Yeah.
Favourite musical?
Ooh, that's a difficult one.
Always a
I've just
tricky
seen. It is. It's got to be. Rather than musical theatre, it's got to be high on the bucket list at the moment. So, it's not on the bucket list. I've done it. Abbey Voyage.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the holograms, yeah.
Yep. So I am taking my granddaughter on Saturday to see it for her birthday. So
That's
I
in
went.
London, isn't it?
Yeah. But I was in London last weekend and saw Devil Wears Prada, and that was
Any good?
amazing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely
Right.
amazing. I think probably the all-time favourite, Phantom.
It's in my top 5. I've got to say Blood Brothers. I've got to say
Yeah,
Blood
yeah.
Brothers is up there, man.
I saw Jersey
So
Boys.
many.
yeah.
Jersey, Jersey Boys is it?
Yeah.
It surprised me to hear that Frankie Valli is still touring.
And I've seen the videos, and he should be a hologram. the way he's
Yeah,
performing.
well, I do 60s weekends, so I go on 60s weekends with a friend
It's all coming out.
a couple of times a year. But you do see some of the bands now. You see, there aren't many of the originals
No.
left, etc.
Manfred and the Man's still going.
Yeah, you feel Union Gap. There's parts of Herman's Hermit still go. So they've had to go into different bands.
Just
So
go to
there's been
different
still,
ones,
and then you get the younger people carrying on the music. So
Tony Blackburn 60s tour, Mum and Dad are regular visitors to that.
Yeah. Good
So who's your
visitors.
favourite band then? Obviously music's important to you.
Hollies.
Oh, good shout. Good shout. Manchester band as well.
Yeah, Hollies. And Elton John as a single artist. But everything Motown, can't beat Motown.
Thank you very much
No,
for your
thank
time,
you.
and we hope to be back again in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
That's all, folks, for this episode of the Winners of Sheffield podcast. On our next episode, we'll meet Richard Hawke. Rich is a versatile professional hailing from Sheffield. Known for his dynamic career in both sports and entertainment, he began as a footballer with Chesterfield FC in the late 90s before transitioning into the fitness industry as an international presenter. Rich specialised in dance classes across the UK and Europe, and in 2014 he opened Dance Stage UK Studios, which quickly gained recognition, becoming UK and world champions and earning a spot on the live semi-finals of Britain's Got Talent. In 2024, Dance Stage UK was named Dance School of the Year. In addition to his work in dance, Rich has launched It's All About the Noise in 2023, an entertainment company that provides a range of talent, including presenters, DJs, dancers and singers. Rich also currently serves as the host for Sheffield United, Sheffield Sharks and Sheffield Hatters, showcasing his skills at various events throughout the year. Join us as we sit down with Rich as he shares all on our next episode.